Okay, 7:30. I believe we're on.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the December 14th, 2020 meeting of the Florissant City Council. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and by order of the governor of the state of Missouri and by order of the St. Louis County Executive, the council meeting will be conducted remotely with the council, mayor, staff, and residents being allowed to attend through a Zoom platform. The meeting will also be available to watch via live streaming on Facebook. If you have joined us in the Zoom meeting, please keep your microphones on mute until you are called upon to speak. If you plan to speak under hearing from citizens, please provide your name and address for the record in the chat box, and you will be called upon in the order they are entered. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Harris?
Here.
Manganelli?
Here.
Egan?
Here.
Caputa?
Here.
Childroth?
Here.
Mulcahy?
Here.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Present.
Siam?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Hessel, would you please make a statement regarding COVID-19?
I would, Mr. President. Section 610.015 of the Missouri Sunshine Law provides that members of the City Council who are not physically present in the council chambers can participate and vote on all matters when an emergency exists. The nature of the emergency must be stated in the minutes. But as you indicated at the outset of the meeting, let the minutes reflect that unfortunately we continue to be in this pandemic due to the COVID-19, and pursuant to the orders of the St. Louis County Executive, the City Council is electing to meet remotely in order to protect each other as well as the general health, public safety of the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hessel. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Are there any corrections, additions to the council meeting minutes of November 23rd, 2020? Hearing none, Councilman Siam moves to approve the minutes, seconded by Mr. Parson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Lung Cancer Awareness Week. Clerk, would you please read the proclamation?
Yes, sir. Whereas lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death among men and women in the United States and Missouri in 2020, accounting for more deaths than colon cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer combined. And whereas the 5-year survival rate for localized lung cancer is 59%, yet only 17% of lung cancers are diagnosed at this stage. Whereas screening for lung cancer for high-risk individuals using low-dose computed tomography, big words, can lead to earlier detection of lung cancer and save lives, reducing the mortality rate by 20% when compared to screening by chest x-ray in the National Lung Screening Trial, and reducing the risk of death at 10 years by 24% in men and 33% in women, as demonstrated by another large randomized trial. And whereas funding for lung cancer research trails fall far behind funding research for any other cancer, and additional research is needed in early diagnosis, screening, and treatment of lung cancer, as well as lung cancer affecting women and lung cancer health disparities. And whereas women diagnosed with lung cancer are more likely to be younger and never smokers, lung cancer incidences and mortality rates in women are rising relative to men. More women die from lung cancer than breast cancer every year. And by 2035, it is expected that more women will die from lung cancer than men. And whereas organizations working with the Florissant community, such as the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative and Women's Lung Cancer Forum, are committed to educating about lung cancer and lung cancer screening and working to increase the lung cancer screening rates in Florissant. Therefore, I, Timothy J. Lowry, Mayor of the City of Florissant, Missouri, and the members of the Florissant City Council to hereby proclaim November as Lung Cancer Awareness November month in Florissant, and recognize the need for research in lung cancer affecting women and lung cancer health disparities, and encouraging all citizens to learn about lung cancer and early detection through lung cancer screening.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience representing the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative tonight?
I got an email and she said she wasn't sure if somebody was going to show up.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, would you like to comment?
I just think it's obviously, I think that is a very serious illness condition, as we all know. And I think that obviously the screening is extremely important, that people do get screened. And certainly the research is extremely important for the future. And so I just think it is important for us to recognize this condition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Karen, no one, is that correct?
If you are here from the lung cancer, could you let us know? I guess not.
Okay.
They were notified.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is hearing from citizens. This is a time to speak to the council on any issue, not necessarily on the agenda for 3 minutes. This is not a question and answer discussion. If you'd like to speak with a council member or the mayor personally, please contact the city clerk's office for contact information. If you are in attendance and would like to speak, if you have not done so already, please type your name and address in the chat box so you can be called upon to make your comments under this section. Madam Clerk, do I have anybody there?
I just sent you one.
Oops. It hasn't popped up yet.
Rhonda Sims.
Hey, you sent it to me, Karen.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
Okay. Ms. Rhonda Sims. Ms. Rhonda Sims.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to come on and say thank you to Mr. Schildorf for stopping by and discussing with me the matter that I brought up before about traffic. He agreed to bring or to send me information for the St. Louis County Police Department when the new person would come up. My main concern is the reckless driving on 270.
Yes.
And it continues to happen. So that's one of my concerns. The other concern that I still have is the intersection of St. Anthony and St. Catherine. If you look at all of the four-way stops from approximately I would say from the highway, you'll see where there are black tire marks where somebody seems to be doing I think it's called a 360. I'm not sure what another name is for it. So I would like, if at all possible, there to be a greater police presence in watching our area. At one point, we did have a police presence up by the apartments. I don't know if something happened up that way, but I don't see an officer there anymore. And I think that sometimes when people see an officer's car at an intersection with their lights on in the car, they recognize it's not just a prop, it's a real officer who's monitoring the area. I'm not sure if I'm at 3 minutes or not, but those are
You're good.
my concerns. I like I always mention, I was a victim of a car accident that really changed my life as far as my physical ability. And I wanted to be safe for myself and for my children and for all of the citizens of Florissant. So that's, my thing with traffic. So I wait to our ward meeting on Wednesday to kind of ask some questions that I guess at that meeting I may get response. I don't know yet how one of the ward meetings go because it'll be my first. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else?
many things on the screen. I do not have anyone else.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is communications, which there are none. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. Public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant. Madam Clerk?
Public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant amendments to Citizen Participation Plan, fiscal year 2019 annual action plan, 2016 through 2020 consolidated plan. Public notice is hereby given that a public hearing regarding amendments to Florissant Citizen Participation Plan, fiscal year 2019 annual plan, and fiscal years 2016 through 2020 consolidated plans regarding CARES Act COVID-19 for the Florissant Community Development Block Grant Program will be held on Monday, December 14th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. via the Zoom platform. Okay, I think that's it.
Ms. Carol O'Meara?
Good evening, everyone.
Good
As
evening.
Karen said, I'm here to present the CDBG amendments to the Citizen Participation Plan, the 2019 Annual Action Plan, the 2016 through 2020 Consolidated Plan, and the CARES Act funding. I do have a PowerPoint presentation, so if Karen can share that.
Working on that. In a second here. Where are you? There we go. Second. Sorry.
You're okay.
Good.
Okay, so the first one is just the cover page, Karen.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
On March 27th, the federal government passed the CARES Act funding for COVID-19. Basically, City of Florissant received first round funding in the amount of $151,584 and a third round allocation for $242,112 for a total of $393,696 of CDBG CV funding. Under the CARES Act regulations, it can be used for a range of different activities. Basically, it has to prepare, prevent, and or respond to COVID-19. And the activities that that money is funding needs to meet at least one of the 3 national objectives required by CDBG, which is to benefit low-mod income persons, to eliminate slumber blight, or to meet an urgent need. Karen, what? Please. Because of this funding, we were required to make some changes to our Citizen Participation Plan. The Citizen Participation Plan basically dictates how we are allowed to propose and make changes to our consolidated plans. It outlines the length of time for public hearings, public comment periods, and the public engagement rules for the CAPER, which is our Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. The CARES Act funding, basically HUD has made allowances to encourage swift access to our funding. Basically, they did that by shortening the public notice period for public hearings and all associated changes to 5 days instead of 30 days. They shortened the public comment period to no less than 5 days instead of 30 days. They removed the public service cap for 2019 and 2020 funding and for the CDBG funds. Normally it's 15% and it's unlimited for public services. They allowed for changes to the CPP, which is the Citizens Participation Program. They allowed for the use of virtual meetings. So the Florissant Citizen Participation Plan has been revised. It is on our website. The changes appear in red. And Once again, it includes virtual hearings as an allowed method for citizen participation. It allows us to update the types of declared disasters, such as COVID-19 and other events such as terrorism, infectious diseases. It also provides details on possible actions regarding reprogramming of the funding. It provides, it includes provisions for our CPP, our CDBG, home investment, emergency solutions grants, and any waivers that are now available underneath the CARES Act funding. It also did allow us to make minor edits, but not to change our current participation policies. And it also allowed us the use of tools to be able to change our needs, the urgent needs, the unmet needs of low to moderate income community, so that we can use a 25% of our annual entitlement, which would then trigger a substantial amendment, which these fall under. Also, please note that virtual hearings are used in real-time responses and accommodations for people with disabilities or with limited English proficiency will be made available to the greatest extent possible. You can find, like I said, the amended CPP on the CDB community development page of the city's website. And you can also pick up a copy at our office if you would like to touch base with us. So this is the actual changes that are being made. So the first slide that you see right now is our plan for 2019. This is not CARES Act funding. This is our original 2019 funds had an allocation of $248,515. Our original allocation that was approved and submitted back in 2019, we had funded the home improvement program with $173,515. The home improvement mechanical with $60,000, project impact with $5,000, and the MRU assist with $10,000. The changes that we're proposing to make today is we are allowed to take 20% of administration right off the top. We did not do that back in 2019, but we have the need to do that now. So $49,703 would be earmarked for administration. The home improvement program we're reducing to $68,812. The mechanical program we're increasing to $90,000. Project impact we're increasing to $30,000, and the mortgage rent utility assistance we're leaving at the same. Now, one of the reasons for the changes that you see here is that because of the CARES Act funding, we have not yet received our 2020 funding. That has been delayed. So we have exhausted all of our funding for home improvement mechanical and project impact. So to get us into 2020, until our 2020 funds, or I'm sorry, into 2021, until our 2020 funds are dropped, we're going to take it from home improvement, be able to move forward with mechanical and with our project impact. As you can see on the next slide, this is the breakout of the COVID funds. So you see our first round, our third round, our total accumulative is $393, 20% for administration right off the top. The mortgage rent and utility assistance, that is going to be an enhancement to what we already have, which is really important to note that as of right now, there is an eviction moratorium going on, so no one can evict people, and that will go on through the end of the year. Once that is removed and there are evictions that start coming up, we're going to see a great need for mortgage rent and utility assistance. With COVID, those caps were also increased up to 6 months of arrearage. We will be able to assist in. That's why this program itself is really heavily funded. We also are going to look at funding a food bank and a coordinated entry funding. team would be a recipient of this funding, we're hoping. We're also looking at funding a mobile COVID testing clinic. Based on the numbers that we're receiving right now, that 52,500 should be able to assist in getting COVID testing for about 1,000 of our residents. And then if you notice the home improvement CV program, we're actually taking COVID funds to replenish some of that home improvement money that we took for the other programs. So that's a breakdown of the COVID funds. And basically, that's the funding in a nutshell. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Karen, does council have any questions?
I'm looking. Councilman Siam.
Mr. Siam?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So Carol, I saw the couple of administration line items, and I was just going to ask if that means someone in the city, there will be a city employee who's like hired or assigned to administer those funds. Is that what that administration line item is?
Yeah, yes. As you know, the CDBG funds pay for 50% of the CDBG specialist salaries. So that's where their salary is going to come from.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That's all
I also have there. We are also working with a consultant just to make sure that we have all of the RFPs and any of the special regulations that are involved in these. A lot of these funds, gets a little weedy here, but there's a whole lot of funds or regulations that we don't technically deal with. Duplication of benefits is one of them. And that is a really, really big regulation. So we do have a consultant to make sure that we are not duplicating benefits in any way, shape, or form with these funds and other federal funds to be able to assist some of these public service agencies, because they receive a lot of different federal funds. So we got to make sure that our monies and their monies aren't crossing. And we do have a consultant that will work with us to make sure that everything's accurate.
Okay, and do those consulting fees come out of the same line item then, the administration, I guess?
Yes, out of the CDBG, CV, and regular CDBG funding, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Siam. Mr. Harris?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Carol. Thanks for the presentation. Always enjoy hearing from you. I got to be on one of these committees before I was on the council, so see how it kind of works. This year's different, of course, with some of the CARES Act funding and particulars. I know that I believe it's been several months, maybe there was a survey that went out to the community trying to get an idea of what people needed. What was that survey? How was that survey connected to the decisions that were made for the funding? Or was it? Was yes. That? Yeah, okay.
The needs assessment survey that went out back in July, that was the purpose of putting it out there, was to see what kind of needs we were going to have. It was fairly early in the game of COVID, so really the needs today look a little differently than the needs did back in July. Back in July, one of the big needs that came out of that survey was PPE. That's kind of gone by the wayside. Mortgage, rent, utility, and food were number one. Food assistance, 31%. Bills assistant, 37%. Medical access and coverage, 26%. Mental health assistance, 29%. Access to sanitizers, gloves, and masks when everything was being bought off the shelves was 52%. So that need has really been eliminated. But when we looked at funding the different activities, this was definitely used in that process. And then everything that we have seen too, along with all of the other public service agencies that are out there that are looking for funding and a lot of money from other funding sources have been depleted. So our monies can pick up for our residents now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and my understanding was that that's always kind of been that way. Supplemental not only does the department assist with certain needs, but also makes referrals to other resources that can help. So that makes sense what you're saying. I have one more question. Could any of the funding be allocated in the future towards small business needs? Is that an allowable expense?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe a conversation.
Small business funding is something that the COVID funds could assist with. But after this 5-day period, when that has come and gone and we have made no more changes to that, these programs are going to be submitted to HUD. So the only way that we could really look at doing something for small businesses would either be with additional funding, or if for some reason we would have to amend this plan again because either monies weren't spent or
Sure.
or there was excess funds. Well, if monies weren't spent.
Yeah, so there's something to think about. If we don't know what's going to happen coming up, so if there's more funding that comes in,
we looked at great length for the small business assistance. There was just no demand. Not one small business had even replied to our needs assessment. We sent it out to the chamber, to many people, and there was literally nothing that came back from the businesses saying that they needed help.
Okay. Thanks so much, Carol. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Parson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Ms. O'Mara.
Hi there.
I just have one question. You mentioned the eviction moratorium, and I know that there are some funds for rental assistance. You also mentioned that maybe it might be over with by the end of the year, which probably I would guess that it would extend since the COVID crisis is still going on. But will some of these funds be released during the moratorium, or is it all just going to get released as soon as it ends? Because I'm just kind of concerned of everything getting distributed at one complete time, where renters might be getting behind several months in their rent. I was just wondering if the funds would be released before they get, too far behind.
So our funds will be released as soon as our 5-day public comment period is over. I will do all the necessary paperwork that I need to do, and then I will submit that to HUD. Once HUD approves it, and once we go into our grant agreement, then HUD they have so many days to put the money into locks, which is basically our bank account, if you will. Once that is done, we will then go into an agreement with Castle, who's our existing public service agency that already distributes our mortgage, rent, and utility assistance. We will go into a contract with them, and at that point, if there are people that are needing funds, they will, as long as it's COVID related, they will be able to utilize those funds. What they're seeing right now, and with the mortgage, rent, and utility assistance, our regular CDBG funds, you can get up to 3 months of arrearage at a maximum of $1,000 total. The CDBG CV funds will be up to 6 months of arrearage with a maximum of $6,000. And they're seeing on an average about, and I just talked to her this last week, $3,000, $4,000 issues. We are a little concerned that come at the end, once that moratorium is lifted, that we're going to see a rash of them. But I don't really they're not asking for the funds right now because they're not being evicted.
Right.
So
Understand.
until that hits, I don't think we're really going to utilize our funds.
Okay.
But funds will be available if someone needs them.
All right. Thank you. I understand. I appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Parson.
That's all I have.
Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to comment this evening? Anyone?
Don't see anybody in the chat box.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, Councilman Pagano moves to close the public hearing, second by Mr. Caputa. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Public hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is old business. The first item under old business is second readings. Bill number 9643. Councilman Mulcahy moves for a second reading, seconded by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For a
Opposed?
third.
Oh, hold on. Opposed?
Ordinance amending Chapter 125 Personnel, Article 5, Complaints and Grievances by adding a new section 125270, Citizens Police Review Board, Composition, Duties, and Procedures, and renumbering accordingly.
Councilman Siam moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Manganelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance amending Chapter 125 Personnel, Article 5, Complaints and Grievances by adding a new section 125270, Citizens Police Review Board, Composition, Duties, and Procedures, and renumbering accordingly.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill?
Marvin Tobias.
Marvin Tobias?
Hello. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello.
I have a new headset thing, so I don't know if it's working right.
Loud and clear.
All right, so I just have a couple of comments. This is for the Citizens Police Review Board.
Yes.
You are correct.
I just had a couple of comments regarding it. Before there's a vote on it, so let's just start. For the purpose of the review board, it indicates that it's going to be dealing with basically resolution of complaints. I was just curious if it's possible to actually add to that to focus on not only complaints, but also allegations of or police use of force. I know that in 2016, there are 6 complaints. In 2018, there were 22 allegations of misconduct, according to the police report. And the police tend to do a good job of resolving those complaints on their own, but there are also 43 force of use incidences, as well as 43 in 2016 and 44 in 2018. So it seems that it's also kind of important to talk about, is there going to be a review of those force of use as well, especially as relating to some of the protests this past summer. Obviously, it's a little different situation because that was a detective, so there wasn't a body cam, but if the individual did make a complaint on that particular force of use, then the Citizens Review Board actually wouldn't have had a purpose because it would have been presented to them because a complaint wasn't made. When we go down to the establishment membership portion, it's a little confusing, so I don't know if there's needs to be some clarification. It actually says that the city shall actively notify citizens to apply for appointment. But then it also says that the city council and citizens are encouraged to make recommendations to the mayor about who should be considered for appointment. So I'm kind of confused. So is it a situation where anyone can apply, but then specific people go to the mayor and say this person who applied should be appointed? Or is it an application process where everybody's just dumped into some central system and then the city council or individuals have access to that and they pull out the people they know and present that to the mayor? So it's just the wording of it is kind of confusing. I don't quite understand how people actually get elected on that. You have 7 people, 5 from the city and then 2 others. Just a side note, it says registered voters, which is 17 and a half. I didn't know if anyone cared to have an actual minimum age limit on that. You cannot have a serious criminal history. I've seen that in other citizens review boards where if you can't have a serious criminal history to be a part of the review board. My only concern there, I understand the gray of having serious not really being well defined, and it can vary from person to person. But I also know of, say, Corvallis, which has a citizens review board, where that person who has completed their actual sentence can be eligible to serve on a citizen review board. So I don't know if it's a possibility that because serious crime is so broad, so for one person, assault's a serious crime, for another person, marijuana use is a serious crime. So it's like, so there's so much variation there. So it just seems to me that instead of disenfranchising people, if someone's completed their sentence, that people can debate on what a completed sentence is. But if someone completes their sentence in the state of Missouri, they can actually register to vote. So an individual could actually complete their sentence, register to vote, and actually open up a business in Florissant, but still be ineligible to be on the Citizens Review Board, even though they've actually done everything they kind of should be able to do to be classified, however we classify as a good citizen. So I don't know if there was possibility to do that. It's interesting because for Leos, it's 5 years. Spouses, some citizens review boards say no children, but you can debate that on your own. But it's just interesting to say spouses. For Section D, I don't know if the recommendations could include a review of body cam footage as well. Section E, it talks about the mayor hiring someone, but I wasn't sure of the budget for that because I didn't see in the budget that was just approved a specific line item for that. So I don't know if it's like Mr. Hessel or someone from NACOL or someone. It just kind of just says that the mayor will do that. So I don't know if there's actual budget for that. Also for that section, the specifics on training. Okay. 24-hour ride along. I mean, obviously it's not 24 hours consecutively, but over the course of some time period, you have to complete 24 hours. I think in general, I don't know the purpose of having that long or that many hours. 7 people having 24 hours of a ride-along experience before they can actually start serving on the actual board itself. In addition to those 24 hours, you suggested that they go through NACOL training or whatever NACOL suggests. And generally, NACOL suggests like 18 topics within law enforcement, 5 in legal considerations, 4 in the history of local oversight. So you're talking about 24 hours of ride-along plus however many hours for that particular training. It kind of limits the availability of people who might be able to participate in it because a lot of these trainings, like Citizens Academy and CERT training, tends to be once a week in the evening. That takes 8 to 9 weeks. So if this is put on a similar time frame, you might not have people able to actually serve on the committee for 4 or 5 months. So I didn't know if it's possible to say, if you're so stuck on the 24 hours with 8 in the evening, if it's possible to say something like if a person's appointed, before they can serve, they have to do 2 or 4 hours. And then over the course of the remaining rest of the year, they have to then complete the remaining 20. And obviously the person, whoever the chair of the committee, is able to keep track of that. And if they don't complete that, then you can, go through removal process. But it just seems like instead of saying 24 before you start to serve, is it possible to say, here's a minimum? And then over the course of the remaining first year, you have to get the rest then. I didn't know if that was a possibility. For F, the duties, I'm kind of confused because the duties for Section 6 tend to indicate that they review the police chief's decision on alleged misconduct as it relates to this article. But then it also says in Section 8 that the board takes no action until an appeal is made. So it seems that the basic point of the board is just to review appeals in general, which is a little different than a committee that's built to review complaints, not even investigate complaints, because there are, again, police review boards that review complaints. And then there's obviously this internal investigation, and as they work together in a way, so there's a list of them that do that. So if this is just basically built on just appealing a particular complaint, that's one thing. I just couldn't tell from the wording of it. So again, that might just be me in wording. That could be that. Section H. I'm not doing all the sections, so don't think that. Section H or Section 8. Mine says Section 8, but Section 8, which talks about the complaints, who can file a complaint. Currently on the website, it's just basically a documented, people fill out their name, address, the complaining, what the complaint is. I guess on this one, I'm kind of confused because it seems that there are only 3 situations or that an individual can actually submit a complaint, whether I witnessed it, whether it happened to me or a family member of a minor child or an attorney. And I didn't know if there was going to be a possibility for just like, I've seen in some where a resident of the city can also initiate a complaint. Because as worded right now, like if my son experienced something, who's 24, and he tells me about it, but he's like, Dad, I don't know if I want to go through that. I myself could initiate the complaint for him. It'd be automatically rejected. So I didn't know if that was what this is saying, or if this is just saying for the jurisdictional review, it has to follow these 3 guidelines. The other thing I want to highlight for the second one, a family member on behalf of a minor child, it's missing a legal guardian. So an individual might have an actual legal guardian who's not a family member, but if something happened, they should still be able to file a complaint. So a legal guardian should be able to file a complaint for a minor child. And I would also add that a legal guardian can also be over an adult. And so maybe some verbiage regarding legal guardians also can file for that particular portion. I have some other ones, but those are the major ones. But those are just some other ones, but those are, the last one I had to mention this one in section 10. Letter K, it says that the police chief takes no action within 10 business days. The original decision of the police chief is automatically reaffirmed. So just for my clarification, if the board comes up with a different decision, the chief doesn't have to actually do anything, and then his decision always stands. I just want to get clarification on that, but that's all I had regarding the Citizens Review Board. And thank you for the work you've done in starting the process.
Thank you, Mr. Tobias. Madam Clerk?
I don't have anyone else.
Clerk, please call the council for the final vote.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Childroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Bill number 9643 passes and becomes ordinance number 8657. Bill number 9644. Councilman Egan moves for a second reading. Second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We
Ordinance
have
to
some discussion in regards to this.
Mr. Parson?
Thank you. Just wanted to read a statement that I have in regards to this. Basically, First of all, I want to say that I absolutely care about the safety of our police officers, and I appreciate and thank them for their willingness to face difficult challenges in service to the community every single day. From the research that I've done, it's apparent that Class 2 laser pointers, which this entails, and the classes above that emit radiation that may cause irreversible damage to eyes after prolonged use. So I have no issue with the proposal to regulate their use. However, I find that Section 1B of this bill, I find it to be problematic. It specifically makes it unlawful for any person under the age of 18 to be in possession of a laser pointer. The inclusion of this section seems arbitrary and singling out persons under the age of 18 and doesn't make it unlawful for any other group to be in possession of a laser pointer. Thereafter, it lists a couple of exceptions to this section regarding a minor's possession of a laser pointer, which I believe makes the bill capricious or leaves it to the subjective actions of an officer who may be open to inconsistent and variable in their enforcement of this regulation. Additionally, the last two sentences of Section 1B deems laser pointers as contraband and says that an officer can seize such contraband without being required to have a warrant or other legal process. I really have a problem with that part of that section. In regards to the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, it prohibits the unreasonable search and seizure and requires warrants supported by a probable cause unless there are exigent circumstances. The last two sentences of the bill, I believe, completely shreds the Fourth Amendment. Unless there are statistics otherwise, I don't believe that the frequency or harm caused by use of laser pointers arises to the level of being an exigent circumstance. Although children technically don't have the same legal rights as adults under the Constitution, we can legally pass regulation like this, but it doesn't mean that we should actually do it. And actually, if any of my children were stopped and searched as a result of this regulation, I'd be absolutely furious if something like that happened to them. This section of the bill reminds me of the stop and frisk policy that they have instituted in New York City some years ago, but the difference between that law and this bill is that the officers in New York are actually supposed to make reports every time they stop someone. This bill doesn't even require an officer to make any such report. Additionally, the stop and frisk policy in New York overwhelmingly targeted Black and brown people, and ultimately over 70% of the stops did not even lead to convictions. In some years, 80% of these stops didn't lead to convictions. And I'm wondering, is this what we really want for the city of Florissant? I would vote 9 times against this bill if I could, just based upon that one section. But since I can only vote once, I have one emphatic no from Ward number 8. And I hope that the rest of the council will consider the impact that this bill will have on our residents when they cast their vote tonight. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. May I call on Mr. Hessel for a legal opinion about this, please?
Here, if I can get mute up. I think Mr. Parson has certainly presented an argument as to why that Section B, dealing with the possession, should not be included in the bill. It's truly not a legal issue exclusively. I think, as Mr. Parson correctly noted, there are certain circumstances in which the possession is lawful. The question becomes whether or not this kind of issue, if I can put it that way, or this prohibition on possessing a laser by a minor can rise to the level of a crime and then a seizure. Again, that is within the discretion of the city council to make that decision. Again, I think Mr. Parson has raised the question as to whether or not it could give rise to a violation of someone's Fourth Amendment rights. arising from improper search and seizure. Those are all valid questions. Again, I can't tell you that the language is illegal on its face. Just candidly, if I thought it was, I would not have included in this bill. I will also admit to you that this is legislation that was crafted based upon what other cities have included. So that's why it was included in there. No one brought this issue before me. And it's really not up to me to direct the city council as to whether or not it's a good idea or a bad idea. Again, Mr. Parson is raising the question as to whether or not there's some legalities associated with that or proprieties associated with that. And I guess that's the issue for the city council, is more the propriety of the issue than anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Hessel. Mr. Harris?
Thank you, Mr. President. I looked long and hard at this one as well. And there are some other verbiage in here that I was confused about. So I know we didn't really have a discussion about this like in a workshop or anything. But I definitely am impacted by Mr. Parsons' concern, Councilman Parsons' concern. And what I'm wondering is if we removed Section B, possession by minors prohibited, would that in any way nullify the usefulness of the other parts of the bill?
Legally, it would not.
Okay. So I would be interested in moving to amend the bill to remove Section B under regulations concerning laser pointers.
You making a motion?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a motion?
I'll second that.
Mr.
I had some discussion, please. I'm sorry.
Okay. I didn't see your name, Joe. I'm sorry, Mr. Egan. I'm sorry.
I don't know if we've got to go through the motion before I discuss or not. I think a motion's been made.
The motion has been made and seconded. So I don't know if your comments are going to relate to the same issue. It seems to me that they are related, meaning that Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Parson, is moved to amend by removing Section B. So if your comments were related to whether or not Section B should or should not be in the legislation, then I think you're right on point.
I think that my comments do have to deal with that.
I suspected they would.
In order to nullify that motion then, Mr. Hessel, with Mr. Harris? Okay. Mr. Egan?
I'm clear to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Yeah, I look at it and I understand the concerns of Mr. Harris and Mr. Parson without any doubt. Specifically about individuals under the age of 18 possessing it. I think that those under the age of 18 don't have a necessarily, here's where I get in trouble, developed sense of, there's certainly not a developed sense of maturity. That's why we have things like we don't allow people to drink alcohol or vote to certain ages and such. So I'm gonna oppose taking Section B out of there, but we'll see where it lies. That's all I have. Thank you. I think this is really the most important thing. This is absolutely a safety issue for our law enforcement officers, and it's something I think we need for our law enforcement officers. And I'll leave it at that, and we'll go with the motions and what have you.
Karen, did anybody else?
Can I make a comment in response?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Councilman Harris.
Thank you. I think that those under 18 and those over 18 would still be subjected to the regulations in the bill, regardless of Section B remaining in the bill. So I think, it's still going to do the same thing. It just won't make it illegal to possess the laser pointer for people under 18. That's my understanding.
Can I say something?
Thank you, Mr. Parson.
Yeah, just in response to Mr. Egan's statement, he mentioned, people under the 18 don't typically have the same thought process as adults, and that's really one of the reasons why I'm in objection to this. It's because they don't have a complete understanding. They need to have a parent or a guardian there to be able to decide, hey, look, I've got a policeman coming up wanting to search me. What can I do? What is in my parameters? What do I really know about this situation? And I would venture to guess that the answer is they don't really know much at all, because a lot of adults don't know what to do in that situation. So that's another reason why I am not in favor of this particular section. Now, again, as I stated in the beginning, I understand the reason for wanting to have the safety of the officers, but the frequency of which this is happening, I don't believe arises to be an exigent circumstance where we would do away with the Fourth Amendment for this particular class of persons. I don't think it's necessary. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Karen, do I have anybody else before we go on the
Do
motion?
you have any other hands raised? No.
Okay, Mr. Parson makes a motion to remove section B, seconded by Mr. Harris.
Actually,
I think it was the other way around.
Yeah. Harris
Okay,
made the motion.
so-
Parson seconded.
Mr. Harris makes the motion to remove section B of the ordinance, seconded by Mr. Parson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, no.
No.
Motion failed, unless you want to do roll call.
Yeah, why don't we do a roll call, because I just want to be sure.
Okay. Harris,
Yes.
this is on the amendment. Manganelli?
No, wait. On removal of section B.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
I would like to remove section B.
Okay. Manganelli?
No.
Egan?
No.
Caputa?
No.
Shildroth?
No.
Okay, he?
No.
Pagano?
No.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
No.
Motion failed.
Okay, just to backtrack a little here, did I get through,
I didn't read it the second time, so you're
Okay,
still in
that's what-
discussion.
We're up for second.
Yes.
right,
Are we
so
ready?
Councilman Egan moves for a second reading, second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance of the City of Florissant, Missouri, amending Title II, Public Health, Safety, and Welfare, Chapter 210, Offenses, Article 2, Offenses Against the Person, by adding a new Section 210-200, Regulations Concerning Later Appointments.
Councilman Egan moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Caputa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance of the City of Florissant, Missouri, amending Title II, Public Health, Safety, and Welfare, Chapter 210, Offenses, Article 2, Offenses Against the Person, by adding a new Section 210-200, Regulations Concerning Laser Pointers.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill?
I have Marvin Tobias.
Mr. Tobias?
Yep. I know it's probably going to pass as is. I just wanted to highlight what was mentioned already, that in the state of Missouri, Joplin, Springfield, O'Fallon, they have similar ordinances. But St. Peter's has an ordinance that basically regulates the use of the laser pointer. So it seems like if it's the concern is about police officers or anyone else having a laser pointer in their eye, the issue should focus more on the use of it versus the possession, which would encompass the whole thing. So St. Peter's actually reads, it's unlawful for any person to focus the laser pointer. So it's not really focused on just owning it or age, it's simply focused on what people do with it. And I think even from a law enforcement perspective, which I'm not, the issue isn't that a 15-year-old has a laser pointer, it's that if the 15-year-old uses the laser pointer in a way other than it was designed. So the focus should be on the use versus simply just walking down the street and having one, and a police officer walking up to a kid If the intent is literally for police officers to walk up on kids with laser pointers, sure, but if it's really about protection, then it should focus on the use, not just the ownership. And again, St. Peter's has an ordinance that focuses on that. So it's not like we're groundbreaking. We're just taking their ordinance and applying it to force it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Tobias. Ben Hammond.
Hi. I just don't understand how we're supposed to continue as a city when this council doesn't listen to anyone's recommendations other than their own. And it's just, a strong city would want their residents to be a part of the process. And the attitudes, the looks on the faces, the complete Marvin spent 10 minutes outlining problems with the CRB, and there wasn't even a discussion about maybe making a change to the ordinance and making it better. So I don't know. I don't know why people don't tune into these things, because they know that what they say means nothing.
Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Ask one more question, please. Just a clarification.
Mr. Harris?
Yeah, and under regulations concerning, definition, laser pointer, it goes through the different classes, but it says for the purposes of this section, any laser presently being used for medical, educational, or other legitimate commercial use is not a laser pointer. I don't understand, because I could think of, I carry a laser pointer sometimes with my clicker, right, to click a presentation. Is that what they mean by educational? And can students under the age of 18 carry a laser pointer in that fashion for educational purposes, like a presentation? Just because I could see that happening, because they're doing everything on the computer now, and they're doing presentations. Mr. Hassel, is there, maybe not, and I don't expect you to, but do we know what that means? Excluding, it's not a laser pointer if it's for educational?
I guess I'll answer the question this way, Andrew. That's a legitimate question, obviously. Like a lot of things, that will be an argument that will be made if I'm in possession of a laser pointer, but I'm under the age of 18. Arguably, I'm using it as part of a presentation. Whether or not that argument will prevail, because it's for educational purposes, then it's not a laser pointer. Okay, but regardless of that, the illegal use, in other words, the illumination of that laser pointer into someone else's eye, whether it's a police officer or another motorist or something of that nature, that the definition doesn't exclude, or better put, doesn't then sanction that kind of activity.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry for the last minute question there.
That's okay. Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Harris?
No.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
She's
You're
on mute.
muted. Did you say yes? Siam. Oh, Parson. Sorry. Parson, sorry.
No.
Siam.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Bill number 9644 passes and becomes ordinance number 8658. Next item on the agenda is new business, board appointments. Do we have any board appointments?
I have Paul Manganelli.
Mr. Manganelli?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to reappoint Don Adams to the Traffic Commission.
Move. Or second.
Mr. Manganelli moves for the approval, second by Mr. Egan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Appointments made.
That is all
Anyone
I have,
else?
unless the mayor has some.
Mr. Mayor?
Mayor does not have any.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is request. Councilman Parson moves to accept the application for a transfer of special use permit number 8152 from U&J Green Enterprises, Inc., DBA Jay's Lounge, to Plush Hookah LLC, DBA Plush Lounge, for the operation of a restaurant lounge located at 12667 New Halls Ferry Road. I will move for a second. Discussion, Ms. Pagano?
Yes, I just have a couple questions with this, with the hookah and what exactly is taking place there. Is the petitioner here?
Mr. Karoma, are you here tonight?
Yes, sir.
That's great.
Okay. Could you just sort of explain your lounge to me?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, not per se a hooker. I started my business doing a mobile hooker, but I'm trying to open up a lounge. So not coming up front as want to open a hookah bar. Maybe down the line, if we do have the right ventilation and making sure we do have the right equipment in there, then we can probably do the hookah thing. But for now, it's just a lounge that's a restaurant and a bar.
Okay, so you do have a restaurant there. Are you going to have bands or anything like that? Or?
Yes, ma'am. I do want to incorporate that to kind of have like, local bands come in and Sunday nights and play as well.
Okay. And then, so with the hookah, there's not going to be any smoking of hookah. Is that, I don't know if that's even the right term, inside this establishment. It's just the name of the place?
Right. It's my business when I started it. That's why I got to deviate now as a Plush Lounge. But when it first started, I did hookah. It's like a mobile rental where I do go to different locations and give them hookah as well.
And, all right. And what are your hours there?
I would like to keep the same hours that the original audience had, which was, I think it opens from say 10 to 1 a.m. When everything goes back to normal, I know with the whole COVID and the whole restriction, whatever time permits for the city to open. So when we do open, we'll keep all rules and regulation according to COVID standard.
Okay, and this is 7 days a week, 10 to 1 a.m.?
For now, 7 days a week, just to know what nights or what days are my busiest days. Down the line, I'm definitely just want to do 5 days. Cut off 2 of the days that we're not busy. I'll open up.
Oh, days. Okay. But you're not going to open yet, right? Correct? I mean, or can you even open yet with the new restriction?
With the new restriction, I can, if I do have my audience, I would love to start renovation because my lease is based on me getting my special use permit. It's contingency upon me getting approvals for my special use permit. I do have a goal in line to try to open up right around by February. So I do have like about 30 days so that I don't have to start paying rent without the business starting.
Okay, and then hopefully by then this will be lifted. The restrictions will be lifted. So
yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pagano. Mr. Manganelli?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Karoma, thank you for speaking with us tonight. Mrs. Pagano, she asked a couple of questions I had here. Now, you say this is going to be a restaurant lounge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the hours again are 10 p.m. to 1 a.m.?
Yes. There are, I don't know if you guys, if I can do a quick presentation to kind of answer most of those questions. I did set up a maybe less than 5-minute PowerPoint. I can share my screen with you guys. And
okay.
Maybe
awesome,
that
sure. That sounds fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I just set it to where you can share my screen.
Okay. that.
Yeah.
You guys get that? Is it?
Yep, I see you.
All right, cool. Start slideshow. Just give me 1 second.
Go up to slideshow. To the top, up at the top.
Slideshows.
Where it says slideshow at the top.
Yeah, I'm having my board is over here trying to move it. It's blocking that.
Oh. All the way up at the top.
Got it right here. My board is blocking it.
Okay, there you go. You got it.
I'm sorry. So it's called Plush Lounge. Basically, our menu, it's strictly, do want to have a diverse menu. Originally, I'm sorry to introduce myself, but I grew up in Florissant. I migrated from West Africa, Sierra Leone, about 23 years ago. Parents grew up in Florissant, off Thunderbird, went to McClough, graduated in college at Missouri Baptist University. Came back, bought a house in Florissant, so I currently reside in Florissant myself. Have a family, 2 kids, a son and a daughter. Been in Florissant, like I said, basically my whole life, 23 years. So decide if I'm doing anything, going into business, I would rather bring it back home. I consider Florissant my home. I want to do an authentic cuisine as far as bringing a little taste of Africa, Caribbean, mix it up with American cuisine so we can just have something a little bit different. One second, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. That's not it. Shoot. I'm sorry. This is not going as planned.
It never does.
This is the one. I'm sorry. Got the wrong slide up. Yeah, okay, we're good. Renovation wise, if I do have my permit, what I plan on doing there, I don't know if anybody been into the older J Lounge, but I plan on doing a complete renovation in there, having new kitchen appliances, complete renovation of the bar, new painting inside and outside of the building. We're doing floodlighting all around the building just to bring visibility around that area. I know it was a lot of issue about parking and all that stuff, but it was because some of the parking in the back wasn't being utilized because of the visibility at night. So we decided to do complete renovation of the whole building, and I'm helping out as well as far as like lighting on the outside of the whole parking lot. Security wise, I'm really big on that because I feel like when you do have good security, it kind of gives the whole community a sense of safety, and it brings family together, and people don't have to worry about their neighborhood or things happening around. We all been around different places and we heard different things happening. So one of my main priority coming into this business was security. Doing a 16-channel TV camera system installation all around inside and outside of the whole building, which records 24 hours monitoring the premises inside and outside as well. Plan on doing a fully staffed security guards. I do have some busy nights. I plan on having at least 4 to 5 security guards, also working with local police officers, maybe getting some off-duty officers that can also patrol premises and all that stuff, just to keep the premises safe as well. Business operation, business hours are, I want to open from 10 to 1, going off just from the previous permit they had. We want to do lunch from 11 to 2 and happy hour, maybe invite some bands out and all that stuff from 2 to 7. And you do have your late night people that will stay later from like 8 to 1 o'clock. One of the biggest thing I said, it's more about involving my whole community. So bringing the business back to Florissant, it's not only me bringing the business back there, but I also want to involve the whole community as well. I do want to hire locally. I do want to use local contractors as well. I'm working with local vendors, so caterers and people that doing local. I can buy wholesale locally from. I'll reach out first to them before even going out in any way. And I do want to give back to my community as far as we do love to do, food drive. We do have food leftover. We love to do some food drives around to the more needy. We love to do some toy drive. I do it now based on my soccer team. I do play soccer, and we do those things as a charity event as well. So some back to school events and all that stuff. So I do plan to not only open up a business, but also a business that can give back to the community. And that's all I do have now. So thank you guys for hearing me out. And I hope I do get approved for the permit so I can bring something exciting, something different in the Florissant community.
Thank you, Mr. Coroma. Mr. Maganelli, were you through with your questions or did you have any more?
Mr. Coroma, thank you very much. That did answer a lot of them. The one question I do have, though, were you planning any cover charges for this live music?
If we do invite a band, that's something we're considering. Depends if the band do charges, then yes, we do want to do cover charges at the door. If the band is just coming out, having locals come out and they're playing for free, then no, I wouldn't do that. I'll let everybody comes in for free and you just, buy your food and drink.
Okay. Mr. Hessel, we're not, the establishments are not allowed to charge cover charges. Is that correct?
Unless they receive some permit.
Okay, that's right.
There'll be a
special permit each time you'd want to
granted as part of a special use permit, a single special use permit, or you can do it through a permit for each and every time they want to charge a cover charge.
Okay. Okay. Well, but thank you, Mr. Hessel. Okay, and the presentation answered the rest of my questions. At first, I thought it was 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. So I was going to say I'm usually not hungry at 10, but no, this sounds the introduction of new cuisine sounds very good, and welcome you. Well, you're already from Florissant, so I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magnelli.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi, Mr. Coroma. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Thanks for being here tonight. So most of my questions were already asked, and I really appreciate the presentation. It's very well done. I guess I do have a few questions still. So I noticed most of the shopping center is vacant there. Are you just taking over the old J spot? Or are you taking over any of those other spots, or just the spot on the corner there?
Just the spot on the corner. I did ask about the very far end of it, but I think somebody already took that. I'm not sure. I did wanted to do a convenience because my original business, like I said, is portable hooker. So I wanted to do a smoke shop where I sell my product out of that. But I think somebody already took that. So that's why I'm just strictly keeping the lounge over there.
Okay. And then just driving by today, obviously this isn't your fault because you're not even in there yet, but there's just a lot of trash that builds up in that area, being on the busy road there. So I would just ask when you do open up, if you could help us out. And obviously you're going to keep your parking lot clean, but if maybe you could expand a little bit and do a little bit on the roadway for us, that would really help out because it tends to get pretty bad right there. So.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm glad that you brought that up. One thing that I also wanted to bring up, I don't know how that go, but one thing I would love to work with the Florissant community, because also over there at night, I've drove by there a couple of times, and one of my main concerns is, like I said, was the lightning. Around that corner right there, it's not enough lighting. I know there's a pole. It do have lights, but those lights don't come on or don't work. So if I would come in and say, hey, how can I assist to make sure that light stays on? Just because even turning into the parking lot creates At night, you barely see their parking lot. I'm guessing not because there's no light in their parking lot, but just from the street side of it as well. There's not enough lighting and all that stuff. So I was gonna ask, how do I go about that as far as if I wanted to come up and say, how do we get the street light out there so at least it make that place visible and people just don't throw trash and toss stuff out their car, because people tend to do that when they're driving. It's dark, nobody looking at them. But.
All right, and then I guess, like I said, all my questions have pretty much been asked already. So just want to say thanks I know you're already from Florissant, so thanks for staying in Florissant and investing your money here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Parson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. Karoma.
Hey, Mr. Parson.
I know we met before, and I came to take a look at the inside of the building, and a lot of the questions that were asked by the council were questions that I planned on asking also. But there's a couple things that I just want to focus on to make sure that I'm absolutely clear in regards to having live bands there and things like that. I'm concerned about maybe the noise being an issue for the residents that are in the rear of that building. So is there any plans that you have to try to, maybe cut down the noise if you have bands there?
Yes, sir. Well, one of my renovations as far as coming in there, talking to my contractor was how can we reduce the noise and the loud music from going there. We're going to try to kind of have some of like the front wall and that back wall to have a soundproof thing going on over there. So as far as like putting the speakers, we're trying to rotate or do our speakers. He was telling me more about technical issues as far as rotating the speakers and all this stuff to the center of the building coming out this way instead of going towards the back where there's residents, so you really don't get to hear that noise. But I did, that was an issue and concern also as well.
Okay. And another thing I want to be clear on. So was the main focus of your business, is it to be a restaurant more or a lounge more? Where are you most heavy?
Restaurant per se first, and then a lounge later. But restaurant is the key focus. Like I said, just want to bring some different cuisine, different taste to the Florissant area. So restaurant first, then a lounge, but restaurant is the main focus.
Okay. Then the next, do you have like a target, and I'm going back to the lounge part. Of course, everybody needs to be over the age of 21, but do you have a target audience or, in terms of what type of music that you may be bringing into your establishment?
Definitely wants to do in the range of 25 and older in this business, because I've been around Florissant, been a couple of places and seen a couple of crowds. You do want that adult, so 25 and upwards. Even talking back to, my family, talking back to a couple of business owners as well in Florissant. I might push it up to 30 and above because of the I'm a little bit upscale. I'm trying to bring a little upscale of what I'm trying to bring in there. So I'm gonna have to push that crowd to my target will be 30 and above.
Okay. And in terms of employees, I heard you mention before, talk about security, and I appreciate that because that's definitely a big concern of mine. But you mentioned 4 security officers. About how many other employees do you anticipate employing there at your business?
Altogether, we talking about a chef or cook back there, maybe with 2 assistants back there, maybe 2 or 3 waitresses. It all depends on the night that we have. It's a busier night. Altogether, I anticipate to do at least about 10 to 15 employees, including security.
Okay.
And that's including me as well as being an employee, if that counts.
All right. Yeah, that counts.
Yeah.
All right. And then I guess my last thing, I know this whole strip mall has been kind of in some bad shape for a good little while here. So I am glad that you are taking some interest in this area, because I think it's long overdue for some change. And according to your presentation, you're going to do some work on the inside and the outside. So
Yes,
I'm glad to hear about that. So other than that, I think that's, and Mr. Mulcahy brought up the issue in regards to trash. Of course, we want to have our city continue to look beautiful. So we don't want to see a whole bunch of trash on a parking lot and things like that, making its way out onto the street. Then lastly, I heard you mentioned your timeline. You wanted to get this done by maybe February. So when we spoke at your proposed place, you had some concern about the council not having a meeting, a second meeting in December. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you did mention to me that if it was possible, if the city was in agreement with this, that, maybe we could do some approval before going all the way into the month of January. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you very much. Just to appeal to the councilmen, the reason why I brought that up is my lease that I signed was based on contingency of me having approval on the special use permit. And also, when I do have contractors coming in, they also have to pull permits to do certain renovations in there to be possible. And it's going to be a timeline with that being said. Now, just knowing the fact that you guys don't have another meeting all the way to January, then I'm looking, it's anywhere 45 to 60 days when you go into this kind of business, you're looking to renovate. If I don't have, or I'm gonna say if I don't have, but if the timeline as far as getting approval for the special use permit is not now, then it pushed me way back of not trying to even open it by March, but all the way to about May. That's what we're looking at. And like I said, with the lease, the owners of the building, I told them if I don't have a special use permit, I can get approved. I'm not gonna put money and try to pay rent on a business that I really haven't opened. So that's why I'm kind of appealing to the board to kind of, with my concern about as far as my time period of opening it up.
Okay, I understand. All right. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Mr. Egan?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, I will not be opposing getting this done this evening. I understand completely your opinion or your point of view. I sure wish I could see. I got a dark screen. I like dealing with people and be able to see people when I deal with them. But I understand we have these are crazy times.
There he is.
Mr. Mulcahy did in fact mention the trash, and that is my biggest issue at that place.
Yes, sir.
And I want you to know how I feel. The trash up there has been horrible for years. And some of that trash in the past has been stemmed from people who have been given Go cups and will hang out on the parking lot. And I want to make sure we're clear that's a no Go cups and drinking on the parking lot. We're clear on that, Mr. Caroma?
Yes, sir. Definitely not going to happen. One thing that I'm definitely going to emphasize before we even open the next day, I feel like as a business, your establishment has to be clean inside and out. You attract more customers. So before we open, if I have to go outside and make sure my parking lot is clean, pick up cups and pick up trash, I have to do that.
Fabulous. Very much. Good luck, Mr. Caroma. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Caputa?
Thank you, Mr. Sheldroff. Yeah, a couple of my questions were answered, but I want to clarify something, Mr. Caroma.
Yes, sir.
Is it what your old business was under Plush Hookah LLC, yes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's so as of right now, you don't have no plans on putting in a hookah bar, correct?
Right now, no. Till I have the right requirements and everything to do a hookah bar, then I'll consider coming back to you guys and appealing to you guys and telling you guys I do have all the requirements and all the things in place to put up a hookah bar. But as of right now, no, sir.
Okay. That clarifies it. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Caputa. Mr. Harris?
I think I put my hand down, but I'll go ahead and say
he did.
Sounds like a great restaurant, a great addition to the area, and I look forward to seeing the menu. I was going to ask you, what's one kind of dish that you're looking forward to preparing?
We do have tilapia, catfish, red snapper. Those are my top 3 ones.
That sounds good. Sounds healthy too. So, thanks and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I think that was it, right, Miss Goodwin? Is that correct?
That was it. Yep.
Okay, let's get back.
Okay. Clarify something.
Mr. Hassel?
As well as the city council. I know the city council is going to have first reading on this legislation this evening, and I know there's a request for 3 readings this evening. So let's be clear that the current legislation would not allow Mr. Kahuma, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
Karoma.
You would not be able to charge people to come in, so you would not be allowed to have a cover charge for bands, things of that nature. That would require a different special permit in order for you to do that. Secondly, you would not be allowed to have the smoking of hookah or have a hookah bar under this legislation pending this evening.
Yes, sir.
As long as we're clear about that. I know that there's some question about the noise. The only thing in the current legislation, and it's a carry over from the prior legislation, is that the back door has to remain closed during all business hours.
Yes,
So
sir.
if the city council is concerned about noise, that to whatever extent you want to impose additional regulations, that would need to be done this evening. And I think those were and the hours of operation, those are the ones that are carrying forward. So if the city council has any questions about those regulations, they need to be addressed through an amendment to the current legislation.
Councilman Egan has his hand up.
Mr. Egan?
Yeah, just one last question. The hours on Sunday, I believe would have to be shut down. You can't serve alcohol. Is it after midnight on Sunday? Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm following all the alcohol guidelines as far as I did put my application and form for my alcohol license as well. But every rules and regulation that follows Sunday time and all that stuff, it's strictly going to.
Thank you very much.
And to that point, again, the hours of operation are set forth in the prior special use permit. They're from 10 a.m. till midnight on Sunday through Thursday, and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Goodwin,
Yes.
Saw Chief Fagan. Did he popped up there? Did he want to speak or?
Mr. President, I did have a couple of comments, but Mr. Hessel addressed most of those. My comments were specific to the hookah and, again, the cover charge. These are issues that we're dealing with other establishments in town and some confusion as it relates to their operating a business. Mr. Hessel has addressed both of those, and so I have nothing further.
Okay, I just wanted to double check, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will move for a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You're actually moving to accept the application at this point.
Right.
Yes.
Correct. Motion carries. Okay. The next request, Councilman Parson moves to approve a full liquor by the drink license for Plush Hookah LLC DBA Plush Lounge located at 12667 New Halls Ferry Road.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, please.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
The motion carries and the license is approved. Okay. Next on the agenda is resolutions. Resolution number 1022.
Resolution of the City Council of Florissant, of the City of Florissant, endorsing encouraging reasonable accommodations to the current orders impacting bars and restaurants. Sorry.
Councilman Egan moves for a second reading. Seconded by myself. Mr. Egan.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this. Yeah, I know this is a bit of a controversial resolution, but it's very, very important to note that the science of this pandemic stops one of two ways. Either we get herd immunity where everyone has it and no longer gets it, or we get vaccines, and the vaccines are coming out now. Thank God they've hit the St. Louis area today. And I would imagine we're hearing it by maybe May or June, the average person will be able to get a vaccination. Our cities our businesses are dying in this community. We are going to lose long-term restaurants in this community that have been here for decades and decades. We just had the stay-at-home order extended today, and this is going to kill our businesses. So far, our business has been offered $5,000 in the CARES Act fund. That's not going to cut it. I was in the positivity rate in St. Louis City last week was lower than the positivity rate in St. Louis County. And you can do indoor dining in the city of St. Louis. In the city of St. Charles County, this past weekend, there was up to 3-hour wait for a table. I can go and eat in a tent on a parking lot in the city of Florissant. It has 10-foot high walls, but I can't go into a business that has 20-foot walls or ceiling that's 20-foot high. And it just doesn't make any sense. The good friends of mine, a family we know, they're all avid mask wearers, and this resolution encourages the wearing of mask and it acknowledges the human suffering. But this family of mask wearers, they haven't been out to eat since March. They very rarely go out. They wear their mask everywhere, and everyone in the family got COVID. So I'm pleading with this council, and I realize that resolutions are largely symbolic, but I'm not going to sit here as an elected official in the city and sit by and watch our businesses close. I know that next week we actually have one business that's going to take over another business in St. Charles. So their wait staff and their cook staff can get just enough money to make this month. And I'm just asking that we send this message to Mr. Page that our businesses are in trouble and we need reasonable accommodation. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to make a few comments regarding this resolution, urging the county to allow indoor dining. First, the Councilman Egan's comment about herd immunity. I just want to clarify that the goal of the vaccine is also to produce herd immunity. It's not necessary for everyone to get COVID in order for that to be achieved. That's the goal of that. Concerning the vaccine, it's going to be, they're saying another 3 to 6 months before it can fully get rolled out. So I do want to encourage everyone to continue doing the mask wearing because that is so important. I also want to say that during a press conference this morning, I watched Dr. Page announce the county's current stay-at-home orders. Because of the lack of enough progress in the metrics, would be extended 2 more weeks, including no indoor dining. So I don't think that's going to change for the next couple weeks. And I know that this resolution is symbolic of support. Tonight, appreciate the support the resolution attempts to provide for our local restaurants. And I agree with most of the points regarding both the human suffering in the community due to the COVID-19 virus and also the financial suffering of restaurants due to the virus mitigation attempts. These are hard times. This is a pandemic. The struggle for me with the resolution is that it truly magnifies the fact that what we face currently is a lose-lose choice in responding to this shared community problem. On one side, we have the restaurants, whom we all agree are struggling badly. Yet, on the other hand, we still have a very serious situation at our local hospitals, with healthcare workers begging policymakers to follow the science and to heed public health officials' recommendations. I feel like we're becoming numb to this, and our numbness is indeed, we're losing morale here. So this resolution urges Sam Page to allow inside patronizing of bars and restaurants that can demonstrate a COVID-safe environment. I find this statement a bit problematic because indoor dining is not hypothetical risk anymore. Earlier in the pandemic, health officials were not aware the virus was spread through smaller particles at greater distances. They learned that since the particles could hang in the air, the more time spent in one closed space dramatically increases the spread risk. A study was conducted and published November 2020, just last month, in Nature Research Journal. The study looked at 10 of the largest U.S. metropolitan areas. Mobility networks were derived from mobile phone data and mapped the hourly movements of 98 million people from neighborhoods to points of interest, such as restaurants and religious establishments. And the model predicts that a small minority of super spreader points of interest accounted for a large majority of the infection, and that restricting the maximum occupancy at each point of interest is more effective than reducing just the mobility of everyone. On the average across metro areas, full service restaurants, gyms, hotels, cafes, religious organizations, and limited service restaurants produced the largest predicted increases in infections when reopened. But reopening full service restaurants was associated with particularly high risk. For example, in the Chicago metro area, they predicted more than triple the risk in a restaurant than the category with the next highest risk. Other studies have shown recently, they followed March through May, and people with positive test results were asked, what was their pattern, where did they go? And they reported they were twice as likely to have dined at a restaurant recently after the infection or before the infection than those who tested negative. So clearly, dining in does not hold even risk with shopping for necessities while remaining masked. It's not the same thing. The resolution before us this evening references similar businesses in neighboring counties being allowed to open, as Councilman Egan mentioned, as if doing so has been or is safe. You need merely to look at the rapid numbers of infections occurring to understand that it's not going as well as this resolution suggests. Unfortunately, I think we will see this confirmed to a greater extent over the next few weeks and months if changes are not made elsewhere. It's math and it's science. St. Charles County already has more cases per 100,000 than St. Louis County. So, there may be long lines, for restaurants out there. It may be packed, but we're going to see the results of that, unfortunately and sadly. This morning, Dr. Page indicated that the health department is working with restaurants on a path forward to reopen indoor dining safely. And he thanked the many restaurants who reached out to assist in that process. He encouraged everyone to support our restaurants with pickup, drive-through, or delivery. I would like to echo those particular sentiments of continued support for our local restaurants until we find ourselves in a position of not sacrificing one segment of our community, the medical community, for another, the dining establishment. It's a lose-lose choice that we have right here. As well, I would like to have seen added to this resolution this evening an urging of local, state, and federal governments to do more actual helping of these small business restaurant owners with adequate financial aid they desperately need. We could even be a part of this. I asked earlier in the evening about the community development funds and about supporting businesses, and I didn't hear anything about that. So for these reasons, and because I do not want to intentionally send a message that all is clear, I cannot in good conscience support this resolution in its entirety. Thank you.
Mr. Parson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be very brief. I just want to echo some of the things that have been said already. Mr. Egan pointed out the suffering that a lot of our local restaurants are going through right now. And I understand everything that Dr. Page is doing and the reasons why he's taken the action that he has. He wants to keep the community safe, which is a great priority as the county executive, and that's his job. But my problem is that we basically left a lot of these businesses out on an island by themselves. You've got businesses that at most can get $5,000 for their restaurants, and they have a focus of mainly dining in on most of these restaurants, and the carry out just doesn't cut it for them to be able to make the payment of their rent every month and pay for their employees. They have to let some of their employees go. And then there's no guarantee from the federal government that these employees are going to be able to get unemployment so that they can pay their bills at home. So, because of that, I can't leave a lot of these small businesses out on their own. And that's why I support the resolution that we have here today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Okay, Madam Clerk, I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
So I'm reading this for the second time, right? Is that where we are? Resolution of, yes.
So you're reading it for a second time, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Resolution of the City Council of Florissant, encouraging reasonable accommodations to the current orders impacting bars and restaurants.
Councilman Egan moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Mulcahy. Roll call vote, please.
Harris?
Just the second reading.
For the third reading, you mean?
Third reading.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Abstain.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Okay. With an Hessel or John? Yes.
Yes.
With an abstention, I can go ahead and read it for a third time.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making
Thank
sure.
you.
Okay. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Florissant encouraging reasonable accommodations to the current orders impacting the bars and restaurants.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill?
Oh, hang on. Let me check. I do not have anyone.
Hearing none, clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Harris?
Abstain.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Resolution number 1022 passes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Resolution number 1023.
Resolution of the Florissant City Council encouraging St. Louis County to not to increase the speed limit on Hotter Shell Road.
Councilman Egan moves for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Manganelli. Mr. Egan?
Thank you again very much, Mr. President. Real quickly, I'll be very, very brief on this. Along Hotter Shell, there are several speed limits from 270 through the city of Florissant, anywhere from 30 to 40 miles an hour. A study was done by the county which suggests that the average speed is, and I forget what the average speed is, and so that their theory is that we perhaps should make it a 40 miles an hour throughout the entire stretch from through the city of Florissant up into, I believe, New Halls Ferry. There are probably areas that can handle 40 mile an hour, but certainly in Ward 3, I'm opposed to it. Along the way, there are several schools, several churches, and several parks. And most importantly, in Ward number 3, we have 5 or 6 homes where the people have to back out of the homes to get into a traffic lane to go about their way. We know that speed affects decision-making time, and I would be more in favor of a flat 35-mile-an-hour speed as opposed to a 40. So I'm going to ask the council to adopt this and send a message to St. Louis County that we don't want the speed in Florissant to be higher than 35 miles an hour. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Manganelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo what Mr. Egan had to say, but only to add that a 40-mile-per-hour street, once you get there are too many hills, too many turns, and again, too many driveways. But Outer Shell, Shackelford, narrow, as opposed to, say, Lindbergh or other streets that do have a 40-mile-per-hour street. So I just want to just echo that this will be a very dangerous situation if the speed limit is raised to 40. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manganelli. Mr. Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Shuldroff. Yes, last week we were aware of this. I was contacted by one of my residents about this, and immediately got a hold of the mayor, Mr. Shuldroff, Mr. Egan. We jumped on this right away. Made a few phone calls to St. Louis County. We got the bill tabled as of right now, which was a good thing. I mean, we do live for another, that time was another week. But I am totally against, raising the speed limit. It is 40 miles an hour is definitely too fast for Hottershell, as much as we have going on Hottershell and Shackelford. I mean, the businesses, the schools, the places of worship. I think I agree with Mr. Egan about the 35 miles an hour. I think that should be sufficient, because we all know the faster the speed limit, the faster the people are going to go. And it seems like we've been doing a lot of resolutions against St. Louis County lately, and just we need to get on the same page with them, or St. Louis County needs to get on
Amen.
the same page with us.
Amen.
They're doing this on their own. They never get into contact with these municipalities, the ones they're going to affect. They never get our opinion on things. They just want to go ahead and do it on their own and see what happens. So this has been the third resolution in the past 2 meetings that are going against the county council. I think this is make them realize that, and hopefully it opens their eyes to start working better with the municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caputo. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to add, yes, I also oppose a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit, and I agree with Councilman Egan that 35 miles an hour continuously would be a better approach to this stretch here. And I think the reason, I'm not sure if they were hung up on the limit as much as it being continuous the whole way through. And one of the reasons for that, based on what I read from the Transportation Department, they sent some commentary on it, was that what they wanted to be able to do was to add some school zones along there, because there are three or four schools that this passes. And with the inconsistent limit, it was going to be difficult to add those flashing lights to protect the school zones. So I do appreciate the intention of this, but I do agree that 35 miles per hour and then go ahead and add the flashing lights for the school zones would be perfect, and a lowered speed for the school zones. So I just wanted to add that. So I do support this resolution. just would like to reaffirm, I think, what the intention was of their trying to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I would like to personally thank Councilwoman Dunaway for tabling this measure last week at the County Council meeting. Ward 5 that I represent is on the other side of town of this area, but I can tell you, I think I could speak for all 9 of us. One of the big complaints we get in general as council people is speeding in general, and whether it be on a busy thoroughfare like that or in a residential setting. This is a combination of both. So I support this resolution, and I think 35 is good enough. Mr. Manganelli did second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, opposed?
A resolution of the Florissant City Council encouraging St. Louis County not to increase the speed limit on Hotter Shell Road.
Councilman Egan moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. McKay. Roll call, please.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Resolution of the Florissant City Council encouraging St. Louis County not to increase the speed limit on Hotter Shell Road.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill?
I don't have anybody.
Hearing none. Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Resolution number 1023 passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is bills for first reading. Bill number 9646.
Ordinance authorizing a transfer of special use permit number 8152 from U&J Green Enterprises, DBA J's Lounge, to Plush Hookah LLC, DBA Plush Lounge, for the operation of a restaurant lounge located at 12667 New Halls Ferry Road.
Councilman Parson moves for a second reading. Second by Ms. Pagano.
Hi,
Any
everybody.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance authorizing a transfer of special use permit number 8152 from U&J Green Enterprises Incorporated, DBA J's Lounge, to Plush Hookah LLC, DBA Plush Lounge, for the operation of a restaurant lounge located at 12667 New Halls Ferry Road.
Councilman Parson moves for a third reading, seconded by Mr. Caputa. Roll call vote, please.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Ordinance authorizing a transfer of special use permit number 8152 from U&J Green Enterprises Incorporated, DBA J's Lounge, to Plush Hookah LLC, DBA Plush Lounge, for the operation of a restaurant lounge located at 12667 New Halls Ferry Road.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this bill?
I don't have anyone.
Hearing none, clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Bill number 9646 passes and becomes ordinance number 8659. Bill number 9647.
Ordinance amending Chapter 120, Boards, Commissions, and Committees for the purpose of establishing an Economic Development Commission.
I will make a motion for a second reading. Second by Mr. Egan. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance amending Chapter 120, Boards, Commissions, and Committees for the purpose of establishing an Economic Development Commission.
Councilwoman Pagano moves for a third reading, second by Mr. Caputa. Roll call vote, please.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Ordinance amending Chapter 120, Boards, Commissions, and Committees for the purpose of establishing an Economic Development Commission.
Move for third.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill?
Lost.
I don't have any.
Yeah, there you go.
Nobody? Okay. Hearing none, clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Harris?
Yes.
Manganelli?
Yes.
Egan?
Yes.
Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Mulcahy?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Yes.
Bill number 9647 passes and becomes ordinance number 8660. Bill number 9645.
Ordinance amending Chapter 125 Personnel, Section 125-265 and Section 125-270 for the purpose of clarifying grievance procedures.
Next on the agenda is council announcements. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. This is our last council meeting of the year, and looking forward to a turn of the year and great things to come. I'm looking forward to this Wednesday, though. I think that's the 17th, Wednesday the 17th. We're having a council meeting. It will be on, not a council meeting, a ward meeting on Zoom. It's a combined ward meeting, 1 and 8, 7 o'clock. And if you need that Zoom information, you can email myself, ward1@flourishmo.com, or email Mr. Parson for that. But everybody did get a postcard in the mail for that. So hope to see a lot of people there and have some good discussion, get some feedback, and that would be great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Mr. Manganelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, this is our last meeting before the holidays. So I would like to wish everybody here in Florissant a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. With everything going on, hopefully everybody can spend time with their family, their immediate family, with the current conditions being what they are, but hopefully everybody stays safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manganelli. Mr. Egan.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On a very serious and sad note, City of Florissant lost one of our longtime residents this past week, Mr. Ken Seasner. Ken was a Florissant Valley Fire Protection firefighter, and I think he retired as an engineer for the last 20 years of his firefighting career. Him and his wife, Donna, have lived in Ward 3 for many, many, many years, and we were sad to hear of his unexpected passing this past week. Secondly, we all know that, as we've talked all night tonight, very tough times. You got an extra $20 in your pocket, let's take it by team. Any extra canned goods. Right now, people who've never thought they need food, citizens of food bank, are now going to food banks and wondering when they're going to get some more food for their family. If you got a few extra bucks in your pocket, some extra canned goods, please, by all means, run it by team. Finally, this is our last meeting of the year. I, for one, be glad to get rid of 2020. I think everyone on this council, maybe everyone on the planet, we could do a resolution to get rid of 2020. I would have no opposition on that.
Wipe it off the calendar.
Second.
Merry Christmas to all from Kelly and I and the girls. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Caputa.
Thank you, Mr. Shildroff. yes, like I always say, every council meeting, if you're a firearm owner, make sure you secure your firearms. Do not leave them in your vehicle unsecured. Be a responsible firearm owner. If you're not responsible, you shouldn't own one. Other would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, especially our city workers, our first responders, the police, and the firefighters. And also like to wish our service women and men in uniform that are stationed in the military overseas. I know how it is to be deployed during the holidays. It's not too fun. So hopefully you all have a good Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully 21 will be a lot better than 20. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caputa. Mr. Mulcahy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to encourage everyone to please continue supporting our local small businesses, especially the restaurants, as we talked about earlier. This is a hard time for them, especially around the holidays. So if you can, please continue supporting them. And a lot of these restaurants, if you go to their Facebook pages, they're advertising that they're doing big take-home dinners for Christmas. So if you don't have anything planned to eat for Christmas, I would encourage you to look into that and try and help out some of our restaurants. Second, I just want to remind everyone, I know the police mention this all the time and we have signs up, but please do not leave your cars running unattended in the morning. I know it's getting colder out, but this is a huge problem, and we're still having a lot of car thefts. It's not just here in Florissant. It's all over the St. Louis region. I've seen these take it or leave it signs in Chesterfield, Wentzville, O'Fallon. So it's not just a Florissant problem, but it's something that we can help solve if we stop leaving the cars running and lock our cars. It'll help the police out a lot, because we have a great police department, but unfortunately they can't be everywhere at the same time. So we got to help them out there. And then finally, I just want to wish everybody a safe and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and hope everybody has a good New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulcahy. Ms. Pagano?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I know 21 is going to be much better than 20. So
It has to be.
peace to all of you, and health and safety. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Pagano. Mr. Parson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I again just want to repeat what Mr. Harris has stated earlier in regards to the combined ward meeting that we are having on Wednesday, December the 16th, actually at 7 p.m. Everyone should have received their cards with an invitation to this. If you have not received one, you can contact me by email. That's ward8@florissantmo.com. Additionally, I know there was a lot of discussion tonight. I just want to basically say something about the Civilian Review Board. I mean, it's no secret that there's a significant part of the community that has a mistrust for police officers, and I believe that the ordinance that was passed today helps to address this mistrust. However, the ordinance, I believe, is only reactive in nature rather than proactive. Although it is a significant step in the right direction, I do believe that as a community, we need to explore more proactive measures to prevent the increasing necessity to review actual or perceived misconduct by police officers using this ordinance. It is my goal, and I believe it is my duty as an elected official to do what is necessary to try and foster more trust between the community and the police. Therefore, I'm not merely satisfied with this ordinance passing here this evening. Additionally, it is my hope that everyone's intent on passing the ordinance is not merely to just placate the Black community, but to actually address some real problems that we have in seeing each other's perspectives. Contrary to what you may hear on social media, television, and the like, it is possible to be in favor of a citizens review board and that ensures the civil rights of residents and we can also support the police department at the same time. Both things can be true, and they're not mutually exclusive. I want to commend the Florissant Police Chief, Tim Fagan, for being open to the idea of having a Citizens Police Review Board. Although this ordinance will make his job more difficult in many aspects, he did not shy away from this challenge and therefore is showing true leadership in the Florissant Police Department and the Florissant community. It will be impossible for this ordinance to function properly without a police chief such as Tim Fagan that is willing to set an example of character and integrity for the police department to follow. It is important that everybody understand that the ordinance is not perfect. There are some concerns that I have with regards to how the members of the board will be chosen. The rest of the bill can address every possible scenario that we can think of. However, if people chosen for the board are not willing to evaluate complaints in good faith, then the rest of the provisions of the ordinance is absolutely useless. This city has over 50,000 residents, and we have an opportunity to appoint people on the board that are not what I call the usual suspects. This city has residents that are educated, passionate, and truly care about the progress of this city. So we have an extensive pool of individuals to choose from. Therefore, I challenge the city council and the mayor to recommend and appoint members to this board that reflect the cultural and racial diversity of the city of Florissant and demonstrate knowledge of issues pertaining to civil rights in the criminal justice system and our police practices. Lastly, I would just like to thank our city attorney, John Hessel, the mayor, the members of the committee, our Florissant employees, municipalities outside of the city of Florissant, and my colleagues and friends for their valuable input and assistance and their diligence in helping to develop this ordinance. And that is all I have. Everyone have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Mr. Siam?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind Ward 9 residents that we will be having a ward meeting tomorrow night, Tuesday, December 15 at 7 p.m. over Zoom. You should have received a postcard with the Zoom info. And Mayor Lowry and members of the administration will be there as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm hoping for a great turnout. I do want to, it's great news that the COVID-19 vaccine has been developed, and it's practically lightning speed as far as vaccines go, but it's going to be like several months before it becomes widely available to ordinary people like us, so I just want to encourage people to please take this virus seriously, wear your mask, use your hand sanitizer, practice your social distancing, wash your hands when you get home. I just hate to see people get sick, especially with the severe strain of the virus, and have to fight for their survival. And, it's really not good. And so we just want people to stay safe and healthy. And finally, I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm looking forward to 2021 as well. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Siam. Let the minutes reflect that a notice was posted on December 9th, 2020 on the bulletin board at City Hall and the city's website to announce the city's intent to consider a change in the pension plan for the City of Florissant employees. The notice reads as follows. The City Council of Florissant has received cost information for possible membership in the Missouri Local Government Employees Retirement System. In accordance with Section 105.675 Revised Statutes of Missouri, said cost information shall be made available for public inspection for at least 45 calendar days from today prior to adoption of membership. Interested parties may view a copy of this cost information at the office of the city clerk or by contacting Karen Goodwin at kgoodwin@florissantmo.com. I would like to thank the residents of Ward 5 that attended our virtual ward meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was interesting. It was a first-time event for any of the award meeting in that format, and it went really well. I'd like to thank the mayor and the chief and the residents that watched and the handful that asked a few questions. I'd like to echo what Mr. Mulcahy said about leaving your car unattended while warming up. It does happen all over the area, folks. Hard to believe. I read a story on KSDK website about a gentleman in the city of Ladue. Yes, the city of Ladue, where a gentleman did this and his car was taken. So please do not leave your car unattended, warming up at home or in the street in front of your house or at a business getting gas or going to a convenience store. That's unfortunately happening there too. We need to think twice about that. I would like to thank everybody for exercising caution and patience on the Graham Road St. Ferdinand project. It's coming to close to an end, and the contractor is doing a terrific job on all aspects of the project. I know the mayor did his television show on our cable station recently with the engineer from St. Louis County and with the contractor. It's a pretty interesting show, and if you take advantage of it and watch it, it'd be great. I would like to wish everybody in the city a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will see you in 21, and I know it's going to be a great year for us. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just a couple things. I'll try to keep it brief. As far as the vehicles left running, I appreciate you guys bringing that up. And actually, we had a bad day at the subdivisions today with the cars left running. Gas stations, it seems like that's improved, but unfortunately, the vehicles running in the subdivisions, we had several reported today. As far as the CRB is concerned, I want to thank the committee, Mr. Schildroth, Mr. Egan, and Mr. Parson for being part of that, along with Mr. Hessel and the chief. And I can tell you that every one of the members of the committee had every opportunity to voice their opinions and thoughts with regards to any issues that are there, and that did pass unanimously through the committee. And I think that's important to note that the entire committee did vote for that, and that we had several meetings, and certainly they had the opportunity to voice if they had any opposition to what was going on with the final ordinance. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that indeed the entire committee had the opportunity to voice any concerns that they may have had, and it did vote unanimously. And with that said, I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And like Jackie said, hopefully 2021 will be better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next regular meeting for the City Council will be on Monday, January 11th, 2021. I'll move to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.